Nation, Doc here. We've had a couple of requests from all over the country about our last recipe, the gougère mini BLTs. Folks seem to be having a little difficulty with the choux-Pate. So we put together this short video to help walk you through any difficulties you might be having. So sit back, watch the video, enjoy, and if you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to drop them on the blog and we'll answer them for you. Okay, so let's get ready to get cooking. The very first thing we want to do is our mise en place. And there's a little blog post on that if you want to read about that in a little bit greater detail on the website. But basically that means we've got everything we need pre-measured, ready to go, so we can get cooking and not have to stop and worry about measurements or where things are. So let's just run through our list of ingredients. Okay, so we've got our butter with our spices, some salt, ground cumin, and cayenne pepper, and that's ready to go and be melted on the stove all together. We've got our water pre-measured, so once the butter's melted, we'll go ahead and add our water, bring that up to boiling. Then we've got our baking powder and flour pre-measured, pre-sifted, and ready to add all at once. Once we make the choux-Paste, we'll have to add the eggs to finish it, and they're over here all ready to go, so we can add them quickly, one at a time. Once the paste is done, we've got our Parmesan cheese and our Gruyere cheese so that we can add that in for flavoring before we come over here and use our fancy-dancy piping bag, which is a Ziploc plastic bag, to pipe out our little puff pastries. I've also got a little egg wash here for a glaze to give it a nice crispy golden brown color when we're done, and a little salt to sprinkle on top as they cook. And then I have my paring knife ready for when they come out of the oven so that we can go ahead and put a little slit in there and let any residual steam escape so that our little puffs stay golden brown, delicious, and crispy. Okay, Nation, we're starting to work on our pastry dough here. And what's very important and what I like to do is go ahead and melt the butter separately over low heat. Then we're going to add our water and bring the whole thing up to a rapid boil. The reason for that is that if it starts to boil before the butter is completely melted, we're going to lose some of our volume of fluid. And in baking, it's a very exact science, so we've got to keep those ratios correct. So what we'll do here is go ahead and just very gently melt our butter and spices. Okay, as you can see, our butter is melted, so what we're going to do is go ahead and add our water, and now we're going to crank up the heat and bring it to a boil as quickly as possible. Okay, we brought it over. As you can see, we've got our boiling butter and water mixture. Now we want to add our pre-measured, pre-sifted flour and baking powder all at once, and then we want to stir this and incorporate that all together. And we want to stir continuously, but not too vigorously. If we stir too vigorously, then what will happen is that the fat will separate out. So you see how this is coming together here. I like to use a wooden spoon for this. That's very traditional and works very, very well. And as you can see, what we want to do is we want to stir it ball or paste. And you can see there how it's starting to peel away from the sides and starting to form into a ball. Now what we want to do is return this to the stove, and you can see right there, this is what we're looking for right here. See how it peels away from the edge. So let's return this to the stove real quick, and we'll cook it about 1 more minute to get out a little bit of the residual moisture. So as you can see, we've got this nice ball that sticks together, and this is what we want to do. Keep it on this heat for no more than about a minute, and what we want to see how it peels away from the side, rolls in a little ball, and leaves just that little bit of film. So absolutely no more than a minute, because what we don't want to do is cook our dough now. I just want to turn it around. And once we've got it at this stage, then what we're going to do is put it in a bowl and let it cool down for a couple minutes before we add our eggs. And we finished cooking it over the stove and now put it in this bowl to cool down, and this is exactly what we're looking for. It's a little solid ball that'll slide around the pan there and leave just that little bit of film. But this is what your choux-Paste should look like before we add the eggs. So now that we've allowed our paste to cool, what we're going to do is put this on a stand mixer with a paddle attachment You could also incorporate the eggs one at a time by just stirring in with the wooden spoon. Okay, with our mixer on low, we're going to add our eggs one at a time. And we want to let these fully incorporate before we go ahead and add the next egg. So that's mixing in there. And as we said, we'll add them one at a time. And what we're looking for is the paste to get a nice, shiny consistency. It should only take a few minutes, but be careful not to overmix the paste by putting the mixer on too high or beating too vigorously if you're using a wooden spoon. And when our paste is done, we're going to finish it off by just adding our cheese and incorporating that gently into the paste. So when we're done incorporating the eggs, what we have is a very sticky paste, but nice and shiny in character. And that's what we're looking for. Now we're going to put this in our Ziploc bag and pipe out our little pastries. So with our paste in our Ziploc bag and a little spot cut off the corner, we're just going to go ahead and pipette about 2-inch little balls down there. And I want to leave just a little bit of room in between them. And you can put a pipette tip in this, make all sorts of shapes, whatever you'd like to do. And when they're all piped out, if you like, totally optional, you could apply a little egg wash that I have here. This is just one beaten whole egg with a teaspoon or up to a tablespoon of milk. And I'm going to put a little bit of extra kosher salt on the top there. And you could decorate these any way you want. And let's go ahead and put them in the oven at 425 degrees. Okay, nation, so they've come out of the oven here, piping hot, golden brown, and absolutely delicious. And what you want to do when they come out of the oven right away is take a paring knife and put a little hole in the top. That will let any residual steam escape